Humans and other assorted life forms. It's January 25th, 2021. There is a lot going on in the world. We're doing 4 stories today, and they're sort of all over the place because I want to give you a holistic view of the world without making you completely insane. Before I do anything else today, though, you probably heard the news that my friend, my mentor, my sort of uncle or bonus grandfather and just guy I admired and loved so much, Larry King, passed away over the weekend. Larry was 87. He had had a series of health issues over the years, a bunch of heart attacks and bypass surgeries and cancer and all sort of stuff. He had a very difficult year. This year, 2 of his adult children passed away over the last couple of months. His brother had died not long before that. It had been a rough time for Larry on top of COVID and everything else. I just want to say to Larry, wherever you are, how much I love and admire you, and thank you for making me think that I could do something even halfway decent as an interviewer or whatever it is that I am at this point. Every moment that I spent with Larry was like truly magical, whether it was on camera, although usually the magical ones were off camera when I got to know him in a different way. And I shared this story on the Rubin Report Locals community a couple days ago, or 2 days ago, I suppose. But I thought I would just share one thing with you because I think it's worth mentioning in light of everything going on in the world right now and sort of how crazy everybody feels. I saw Larry a few times right before a lockdown, and he had had some health stuff and had been in and out of hospitals already. And one time I saw him and he was really kind of banged up and not feeling great. And I kind of, when I left his house, I sort of thought it was like, oh, that's probably the last time that I was going to see him. And then I called him about a week later and I said, Larry, how you doing? And he goes, David. He always called me David. He goes, David, I'm laying on the table. The doctor's poking me right now. I said, well, how you feeling? He goes, Doc, how am I feeling? And I just thought it was just so funny and perfect. Like, it was just the way he was, like, as he had doctors like poking at, Doc, how am I feeling? Tell Dave how I'm feeling, Doc. I'm doing a little more Rodney Dangerfield, I think, than Larry King. But then about a week later, when he got home again, I did get to see him. And he was there with 2 of his sons, one of whom is one of the ones that passed away, and then one of his younger sons. And he was in a wheelchair at the time, and we were chatting and having lunch. And he said, I want to show you the trophy room. And I wheeled him into the trophy room and we stood there. And the trophy room in his house he had a room in his house that was basically all the awards, all the accolades, all the notes and plaques and all of the things, the gifts that he had been given by all of the incredible people he had interviewed over the years, from all of the presidents and the secretaries of state and the Pope, and just everybody that he had interviewed, the pictures, the signed things, all of it. And we were standing there, and most of it, so one side was all of like the political stuff and the interview stuff, and the other side was a lot of baseball memorabilia. And we were staring at the political side, the show side, the Emmys, all of that stuff. And I kind of wheeled him in front of it, and we were just standing there. And he goes, what's it all about, Dave? What's it all about? And when you have those moments where it's like you don't even have time to think of anything, and just sort of whatever was going to come out of my mouth came out of my mouth. And I just looked at him and I said, Larry, this is what it's all about. Like this is a life worth living. And we just kind of sat there. We didn't really say much for like 3 or 4 minutes. And then his son came in and we got out of there. And I don't know, it's just like an incredible moment. Like, he knew like his time was limited, and just looking at all of the stuff that he had done, and not that was the sum totality of his life, right? He had many children, just the amount of people that adored him, and how much he loved baseball and all sorts of other stuff. But it was just it's just a very special moment for me, and for any of you that watch and appreciate what I do. If I'm 5% of the interviewer that guy was, I will take that. So Larry, I will always be thinking of you, and I miss you already, and I hope you're on to greener pastures. All right, my friends, let's move on. So there is some actually, believe it or not, there's some potentially good news coming out of California today. I actually can't believe it, but it is possible. Supposedly, in approximately an hour from now, this is the rumor on the computer there, the rumor is that Gavin Newsom, our horrific, awful, terrible, to-be-recalled governor, is going to end at least part of the statewide lockdown. It is unclear exactly what that will mean. I'm hearing a rumor that that may not include LA, that it'll include every other part of California, but maybe not LA, in which case I'm going to actually, tomorrow I won't be doing a show because my brain will have exploded and my head and pieces will be everywhere and they're gonna have to piece me together. But let's just assume that it's gonna be everything and that some restaurants will open, outdoor eating, and hopefully some of these mom and pop shops can get up to it, back to work. But if you want a little context for this whole thing, I think it's become very obvious that this all was about politics. This all was about destroying Trump and crushing the economies enough so people would be frustrated enough and they could blame everything on Trump, even though Trump handed the power to the governors. You know, this authoritarian Hitler guy who was letting the governors do what they thought was best. I don't think Newsom or Cuomo or any of these guys that have locked down their states and destroyed countless amounts of lives have any bit of guilt or remorse or anything. They've done truly, truly terrible things. And it's just like, think about it this way. If you were a small business owner, or you just had a dream to open up some shop or a restaurant, as I always say, something like 90% of restaurants fail in the first year in normal times. How could you ever go ahead and do it in one of these states ever again, knowing what the normal risks are, now on top of the fact that the governments can just come in and shut you down at whims? I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. But if you need some evidence that this was really about politics and not really about COVID or keeping us safe, which I don't even think it's the government's job to keep us safe. But if you need some evidence, we should look at these two charts that were put up. This is from the New York Times. So on December 7th, 2020, that's the day they shut down outdoor dining. And you may remember that the woman who shut down outdoor dining, Miss Cool, her name is, from, what was her first name? Sandra? Was it Sandra Cool? Sheila Cool. Sheila Cool, I actually protested at her house a few days later. She voted, she was the deciding vote to shut down outdoor dining. Then right from the vote, she actually went to go eat outside until they shut down outdoor dining the next day. So that just shows you the hypocrisy and ridiculousness of these people. But the day we did the outdoor shutdown, we had 27,227 new cases of COVID. Our 7-day average was 23,000 roughly. Now, flash forward 5 weeks later, new cases are 21,680, so a little bit less new cases, but our 7-day average right now is actually higher than it was 5 weeks ago. It's at 25,576. So if our new case average is higher, then how in the world does it make sense to open the state if keeping us locked down had anything to do with keeping us safe? I think it's fairly obvious that we all know the answer to this, that the lockdowns not only didn't work, they actually were completely counter to everything because they destroyed the economy and made people depressed, and we know rates of alcohol and suicide are up and the rest of it. This is because that Joe Biden guy was sworn in as president of the United States 6 days ago. This is the only reason New York opened up a little bit more since then. Look, I want all the states to open, so I will gladly take it. I will gladly take it. But my hope is that over the next couple months and year or so, that as the information trickles out as to how they made these decisions, how these ridiculous authoritarian power-hungry lunatics made these decisions, my hope is that there will be massive lawsuits, that there will be class action lawsuits, there will be lawsuits by restaurateurs, there will be lawsuits by regular citizens whose lives were destroyed, and people like Gavin Newsom probably should end up in jail. Probably. Like, I don't really see a way around it. Like, the damage that he has done to society is far more than the damage that our former Attorney General, Kamala Harris, has put people into jail for here in California. So I just want to say a special message. It's been a while. I haven't given a special message in a while, but I do have a special message for Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, you're getting recalled. So you didn't know what I was going to do there. You thought I might drop the F-bomb again, but I mixed it up on you. He's getting recalled. Let's recall this guy. It only needs, I think it has something like 1.3 out of the 1.5 million signatures to get this guy recalled. If you haven't signed it and you're in California, sign this thing. They don't make it easy because you have to do it in person while at the same time they're keeping you locked down. You think maybe he wanted to keep people locked down so they couldn't sign his thing because you can't do it online? Find your local place, group, whatever, and sign that Recall Gavin situation because he deserves to go. He really does deserve to go. Look, if California opens tomorrow, if LA is open tomorrow, I think that I'm going to go outside and have a chicken sandwich. I'm going to go to a restaurant and have a fried chicken sandwich. You guys want to come with me? What do you want? What do you want, Michael? What do you want? Spicy chicken sandwich. Connor, what do you want? Two spicy chicken sandwiches. So the group of people breaking the law by being in this room right now, I'm going to have a regular chicken sandwich, 2 spicy chicken sandwiches, okay? That's what's going to happen. God bless America. All right, let's switch over because I thought this was an interesting way to follow up that story. There are some studies out right now that have been released that trust in the media has hit an all-time low. Color me shocked. Can you believe it, people? I just can't believe it. Our wonderful media, like the New York Times and CNN, people don't trust them? This is very, very disturbing. Let's look at some of the numbers. 56% of people polled believe that journalists and reporters are purposely trying to mislead. So that means more than half of the people think that journalists are intentionally trying to lie to you. That's pretty interesting. This is by Edelman Polling. 58% think that news organizations are more interested in ideology than facts. Yes! Only 18% of Republicans trust the media versus 57% of Democrats. I mean, 18% of Republicans seems pretty high for the Republicans considering how awful the media is. But that roughly 60% of Democrats even buy into this nonsense just tells you how far the ship has sailed. As a whole, 46% of Americans of all political stripes say they trust the media. And here's a fancy little graph. I like this little dump off here as far as the percentage of Americans who trust traditional media. I mean, look, guys, this should not surprise. Exactly what the media has been. They've been gaslighting us relentlessly. They condone and excuse violence when it's violence on the left, and they exaggerate it when it's violence on the right. I have no problem telling you that I condemn all political violence either way, whether it's Antifa in Portland or whether it's right-wing political violence in DC. But they simply cannot do that. They bring on Democrats on all the shows to help promote them, and they bring on Republicans usually to lie about them or cut them off. There was a really interesting video yesterday on ABC, what is it, the George Stephanopoulos show in the morning. George Stephanopoulos, who is the head, this guy is in charge basically of ABC's political news division. He also worked in the Bill Clinton White House. You think he's a Democrat or a Republican? I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I think I can figure it out. He had Rand Paul on, senator from Kentucky, obviously libertarian. I like Rand a lot. And Rand brought up some points about how we should continue to look into election fraud, that we want to secure our elections in the future. And he started talking about some of the things that happened over the last couple months, which we're really not allowed to talk about here on YouTube. And George Stephanopoulos said there are not two sides to this story. I mean, imagine being a journalist and saying, no, blanket, there are not two sides to this story. That's it. These are the same people. I would love if somebody could figure out how many hours worth of content has George Stephanopoulos and ABC put out from 2016 to 2020 related to the Russia hoax and related to the Covington kids and the Brett Kavanaugh stuff and the Jussie Smollett and all of the things that we all know turned out to be lies but that fit their narrative. But in this issue about either election fraud or broadly anything that conservatives or libertarians believe, there's one side to this story. It's so weird, but this one thing that we really, really need you to believe, that's the one thing that, you can't even look at it another way. You'd be Alex freaking Jones. You'd be a complete conspiracy nutbag. You get it, people? Do you get it? Which also, actually, believe it or not, we really did a hell of a job with the segues today. It segues perfectly into the third story. So I know you guys get it. People don't trust the media. Okay. Well, then there's another sort of layer of what's going to happen, I think, more and more in the next couple years as we see the Biden-Harris administration, or I should say the Harris-Biden administration, as they sort of navigate through the media landscape and the big tech landscape. And this story is probably going to seem like a little bit of insider baseball to you guys, but I think it's actually pretty important. So the Biden White House team has shut off all comments on their YouTube videos. Now, that's pretty interesting because it's like, first off, if it's a governmental website, my general position on this would be that you'd want as much transparency as possible and you just let the people talk, right? Like you just have the comments there and you'd let the people talk. Now they know that they would get ratioed to high hell. They know that most people wouldn't tune in, and we can just actually just look back at the last few months where every time Trump did an event, there were hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people watching, and then Biden would do an event in front of 3 cars and there would be basically nobody watching and it would have all downvotes. So what they're really trying to say here is they don't want the people commenting on things. Now, a few of you wise, witty people may be noting that we here at the Rubin Report don't have comments on our live streams. And that is true. Now, first off, I want to be very clear. I'm not part of the US government, in case you didn't figure that out. I have no connection with the government. The reason that we do it is because the way that these ridiculous big tech algorithms are set up is that the live streams become the worst sort of evil, trolling, bot lunacy, white supremacists, crazy anti-Semites, like just the awful dredge of society show up in the live stream comments. Believe it or not, when we put the video up immediately after, we allow for comments, and our comments on our videos actually have been really great lately. I do quickly try to glance a little bit, and I have my guys just sort of take a temperature of what's going on, and they've been really good. I think that's probably indicative of the type of content we're putting out here. But anyway, I mention that because obviously we're not part of the government, but they are. But the bigger issue here is, okay, so let's say you've got all of the media elite. So you know that when Biden does interviews, they're going to be softball interviews. You know that Jen Psaki, the new White House press secretary, you know that she's going to get softball questions. We played a couple of them last week. We know the media is going to focus all the bad on Trump. Like no matter what happens, if Biden starts a war in Syria, somehow it'll be related to something Trump did. All right, I think everybody gets the game, right? Like all of the COVID stuff, it was all horrible. Somehow this week we can open up, but Trump was the guy who was bad beforehand. Okay, fine. The problem is that if you have the layer of just basically getting blowjobs from the media, right? And then that's a horrible visual, actually. But if you have that, and then you have, okay, we're also going to post videos on these mass communication sites like YouTube, and people won't be able to comment. And then on top of it, we know that our algorithms are going to shadow ban people on Twitter so that they can't communicate, or the way we'll manipulate algorithms on YouTube so people only see certain things, and whatever else is going on, even the stuff that we don't know about. And I have no doubt that there's plenty of stuff we don't know about. That in essence, as I've been talking about for a long time, we are in an information war. You'll have a sort of a state-run media, and then you'll have videos that you can see online that you can't comment on. And then when you go to the big tech platforms, they'll manipulate you in a certain way, and then you'll be reduced to figuring out other ways to communicate with people. One way you might want to communicate with people is at rubinreport.locals.com. The community's absolutely exploding, and you can say whatever you want, and you can talk to other interesting people, and there's no bots and trolls. So there you go. Anyway, so again, as I said, it feels like a little bit of insider baseball to be talking about YouTube comments, but in another way, it's not, because it's just more about, like, why are they really doing it? Why are they, like, they had a meeting and they said, okay, we're going to put up videos on the White House YouTube channel. That's what presidents have done for the last, 10 years or so. And then somebody said, well, we know that if we do that there's going to be a lot of people making fun of us. There's going to be a lot of people calling us out on our BS. There's going to be a lot of people, whatever, even if it was related to trolls and bots, like there's going to be a lot of, and then they said, okay, well, let's just not, allow for a forum where the citizens, where the people of the United States can comment to us. So that's what the real risk is, and I think we're going to see more and more of that. And as government and tech just becomes one thing, that's going to be a big problem. And by the way, that's also why, as over the last couple of years, as there were all these debates about what do you do about big tech, I kept saying that the conservatives have to watch out what they're asking for, that if you have Trump do an executive action on big tech and regulate, well, congratulations, you've just tied big tech back together with the government. And I understand why a lot of conservatives would have been for that, because Trump would still be on these platforms at the moment. But I think you maybe down the line would have created a much bigger monster. And by the way, guys, as I always say, I'm a world-weary optimist, and I have a belief that these systems will fail. They will keep hiring the wrong people, the wrong engineers, the wrong public people, based not on their skills, but on these other immutable characteristics. And I think these things will ultimately fail. Let me do one other story today, okay? And then there's a lot going on here. I got a busy day. There's just like so much happening with locals right now. I'm just in meeting after meeting. But I want to do one other story about masks. Because, you know, I'm a believer, as I've said from day one, that you should do what's right for you. And if you own a store and you want people to wear masks, that's fine. And the government can give us recommendations on how we want to behave. But that basically is it. But the New York Times has now recommended that we double mask. So let's just back up for a second. You may remember March. Do you remember March of 2020? It seems like a lifetime ago. We were told 2 weeks to flatten the curve. There was nothing about locking down the entire economy. There was nothing about destroying millions of lives and the rest of it. But now we've gone from 2 weeks to flatten the curve to endless lockdowns, to maybe kind of opening up, to restaurants that can be at 25% capacity. That sounds like a profitable motive. Oh, on top of everything else, Biden's pushing for this $15 minimum wage. And it's like, if you ever wanted to crush the remaining small businesses, what would you do? You would take them, you would lock them down, you would say, okay, you can open up at part capacity and you have to pay your employees more. Like, if you ever want to destroy small businesses, that's how you do it. You know who can afford to pay for $15 minimum wage? Target, Walmart, et cetera, et cetera. Now, philosophically, I don't think the government should have anything to do with minimum wage anyway. I believe in the market. I think that's the only roughly fair way of doing anything, although bad things can happen just in the market itself. But I think those things have a way of working themselves out. But the point is, if you want to destroy the last remaining small businesses, as I believe Bernie Sanders wants to do, as I believe Joe Biden now wants to do, what would you do? You would handicap them with all of these lockdowns, and then you would say, okay, little mom and pop sneaker store, now you have to pay your stock boy $15. Guess what? Target's not going to have a problem doing that. The big outlets and the online retailers aren't going to have a problem doing that, and you will crush what's remaining. But anyway, now they are telling us 2 masks. We went from 2 weeks to flatten the curve to 2 masks. This is from the New York Times. 2 masks are the new masks. Double masking is a sensible and easy way to lower your risk when you have to spend more time around others in a taxi, on a train or plane, or at an inauguration. Look, again, do what's right for you. Do what's right for your family. Think it through and try to be a responsible human being. Also understanding that there is some risk in life. But the idea that we're going to wear 2 masks, why not 3 masks? You know, how about a mask and a face shield and just like a giant body condom, like in Naked Gun? Like, should we start doing that? Would that be best? And like, you know, I know we've all sort of given up on social distancing. People don't really do it anymore, but maybe we should reinstate that. But it shouldn't be 6 feet. It's like, why 6? Maybe 20 feet. So mask, shield, body condom, 20 feet. And let's see how this works out for humans, okay? Let's see if the human experiment can continue in the rest of this, while all of this lunacy proliferates throughout society. Okay, guys, I got a crazy week, but there is a ton going on here. I am leaving for Dallas on Wednesday, and then we'll be doing live shows, live direct messages from the Blaze studios on Thursday and on Friday. I'm doing about 20,000 roughly Blaze guest appearances while I'm in town. My interview with Jason Riley from the Manhattan Institute is up, by the way, and he has a great documentary about Thomas Sowell, which is out right now. It came out this weekend, so you can find out a little more insider stuff. It was a pleasure to talk to Jason. I'm actually in the documentary as well, but it was a pleasure to talk to Jason about Thomas Sowell, who has just inspired so many people. I have no doubt that he's inspired many of you guys. And a lot going on Locals, as I keep telling you. So check out rubinreport.locals.com. Have a great day, everybody. And if, I don't want to make any promises, but if Gavin Newsom, within approximately a half hour from now, announces that California will open, including Los Angeles, and even if the restaurants are at 25% and outdoors, I will send a picture of 3. You know what? We're each getting 2 chicken sandwiches. 2 chicken sandwiches. You want fries? You want fries? Fries? All right. There will be 6. Oh, wait, David probably wants lunch too. We will have 8 chicken sandwiches. Everyone's getting 2 things of fries. 8 chicken sandwiches, 8 things of fries. What kind of sauce do you want?
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Chick-fil-A sauce? What do you want?
Is there buffalo sauce?
Oh, yes, there's buffalo sauce. All right, Chick-fil-A sauce, buffalo sauce. They've got that Peloponnesian sauce. They've got the sweet and sour. What else? Honey mustard. Don't forget the honey mustard. Maybe a little ketchup. Okay, we're going to take a picture of chicken outside eating it. It's incredible. It's a very exciting time to be alive. Have a great day, and Gavin Newsom, I don't like you. Goodbye.